Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on African Confessions. The following story that you're going to be listening to, it comes from a translation of a message that I received. And the translation of that message, it reads like this. Hello, how are you, Brother Nashi? Please post my story as anonymous. I am a South African woman. I was born and raised here in Gauteng. My dad, he was from Mozambique. So I want to know if this flows in my bloodline, if it is the reason as to why I started seeing dead people. My father, he was a Sangoma. What brought him to South Africa, according to what he told me before he returned to Mozambique, I will tell you what happened when he returned back to Mozambique. My dad, he told me that he came to heal the family of this other big politician. He was fighting to get a position in one of the political party so that he can go to parliament. So he needed some charms that were very powerful. And my dad, since he was from Mozambique, he had to be brought to South Africa. And then he started staying here permanently, even though he had wife and kids there in Mozambique. He met my mother and then they got married and they were assisted so that they can have paperwork done, and we were born. It was me and my other siblings. So that is the story that my dad told me, that he needed to give this big politician some charms so that he can go to parliament. And this was after the white government was toppled down, so the blacks, they were going to parliament for the first time. So I was born shortly after that. And my dad, he was someone that was very powerful, but I have no memory really of his work because my dad, he passed away when I was young, but I knew and I still remember the things that he told me. My father then returned back to Mozambique because he was fighting with another witch doctor. I really do not know the village from where he comes from, but my father would go to Mozambique to harvest more powers from this other cave where there are people buried inside of that cave. So when he went there, he fought with another traditional healer using lightning. My father is said to have been hit by lightning whilst he was on top of the mountain. He wanted to go into this other cave where he used to get all his powers from, and we never saw my father ever again. From my childhood, I always had unusual dreams, dreaming of people dying. If I would dream about you being happy, I would know that you are about to die even days before you would have died. I would see some of my mother's relatives who had passed away a very long time ago. They would come to me and they would speak with me in a very nice way. So then my mom, when I told her about all the dreams that I was having, she then went with me to KZN and we were taken to this other prophetess. She took us to the river, for there was a cleansing ceremony that was supposed to be done. Otherwise, my ancestors, they were going to trouble me for the rest of my life. And I was labeled as a sensitive child. Even at school, I was not participating in a lot of things. And this is how you can see that your child is someone that has ancestors on him or on her. Your child, if you see that they are always indoors, they don't have any friends, they don't want to play with other kids, they always want to play with their own toys, even with their siblings, they don't like to share with their siblings. They try to go in hidden little spaces where they can just play. You will know that your child has some spirits that follow him or follow him. And another thing is that your child can speak really late, and your child, whenever they talk, it's like you are talking with a grown up person. So that was the kind of a life that I had growing up, but we did not do any rituals. But my mom had been told that she was supposed to raise some money, and when the time was right, I was supposed to go and then to do the rituals, and I'll become a sangoma. But life happened. My mom then passed away. My mom passed away whilst I was studying nursing. Dreams, they even intensified. I would always see myself in the graveyard. I would see myself even digging up the roots of different trees in a big forest, being followed by a big snake that will be protecting me from what it will be protecting me from. I really did not even know. That was when I got married. I got married to the love of my life. We met when I was still in college. He was also in college. We both started working for the government. I was employed at a hospital in Joburg, and I was assigned for night shifts. Me and my husband, we really had a nice life, and we had one child at that time. Then we had another one. Then I started to have like real strange experiences. Remember that all my life, all that I had were these weird dreams that really did not make sense to me. But when I had my second child, then I started to see things that did not really make sense to me. I would walk past through an empty ward, but then when I would look again, I would see that the word will be full of people that will be talking. When I would go into that word, I would see those people disappearing one by one, and then the room would be filled with smoke. At first, I thought that it was fatigue because I used to work a lot, because me and my husband, we wanted to achieve some good things and to go on vacations. And I was on medication because when I gave birth through operation, I started to take some pain medication. So I thought that maybe because of the pain medication that I was taking, this was the reason as to why I was having all of these strange hallucinations. I kept everything inside because remember that I am someone that does not like to talk or to tell anyone some of the problems that I'll be facing. Like, I just deal with everything by myself. I do not want people to know that I am going through a lot. Maybe if I had told my husband before visiting a sangoma, maybe my husband would have come up with a solution, because after I had visited the sangoma who got me into the rituals, later on, I went to another sangoma who told me that all that was needed for those dreams to stop was that I was supposed to go to Mozambique and to collect the soil. He had said that even if you just get onto the taxi, you cross into Mozambique, then you collect soil from any place, but where there are a lot of people walking around, and you collect soil, you put it in a plastic bag, and then you have to leave your dreams in Mozambique. I asked him what he meant by me leaving dreams in my father's country. He said, what I mean is that you have to spend one day in Mozambique. It does not matter where you spend the day. If you go with your car, you just sleep in your car. Then the next morning, you drive back to the border. You don't have to drive very far away from the South African border. You drive back to South Africa. And if you have money, you look for a place where they have guest houses. Then you just book a room, you sleep there, but do not use the soil whilst you are in Mozambique. Then you return back to South Africa. When you come back to Gauteng, you have to go to KZN, to the same village where your mom was born. Then you take soil. Once you get off from the taxi, before you do anything, look for a place where a lot of people move around. You collect soil as well from that place. Then you leave your dreams there. Then you come back. When you would have come back, then you start with your father's bloodline. You bath yourself using that soil for 3 days. And then after that, you speak with your mother's ancestors, informing that in whatever that you are doing, if you have done something wrong that you are not supposed to do, by communicating with them, they should forgive you and not to punish you, but you are one of their own, for they are the womb that carried you, and they must keep on protecting you. So you wash yourself again for 3 days. Then on the third day, the remaining soil, I was supposed to mix it and to wash myself with it, but I went to that sangoma after I had already messed up everything. I wish that I had gone to that sangoma before I had visited the Malawian men who have led me down this path in which I am walking on, and I need advice. So when I started to work after I had been on my maternity leave, I started to see real dead people. These dead people, they would be walking so slowly through the ward. If a person would have died in another section of the hospital, that person will start to walk, and I would see the person as if they are normal. But when I would walk up to them, I'll see that this person is already dead. I would follow that person, but it will be only me that will be having this vision. And then the dead person would enter into another ward where there would be sick patients. They would go to that person who is like really sick on that night, and they would speak softly, standing beside that sick patient, and they will say, "Are you tired? If you are tired, come with us to a place where there is plenty of rest. It is quiet there. Let us go there." I then started to notice that when I follow that patient that would have woken up and started following the dead people, we will walk until we would have reached the end of the hallway. Then all of them, they will disappear. And when I would run back to that ward where he would have been taken from, I would find out that maybe the person would have died already, or they will die hours later. But if the patient will ignore the dead people that will be speaking with them at night, they will survive that night, but they will keep on coming back until the person would have passed away. So this was very strange, and this was very weird for me, and I started to notice a lot of things that were happening in that hospital, until I said, I think that I need to visit the Sangoma, because each and every day when I would be at work, if it was 11, there was someone that will die, whether it is in the morning or at night. At 11, in the section where I will be at that time, someone will die. This was my observation that I was having. I started to see the souls of people leaving their bodies and exiting the hospital through the ward doors, some through the ceilings, some they would even sink into the tiles, and that person, the soul will just disappear. And these were like sudden death. Someone will be okay, recovering, then all of a sudden that person will just die. So I then went to find some help. I was referred to this other Malawian witch doctor in Hillbrow. I told him everything. The witch doctor confirmed and the witch doctor told me that I should come. So I went to him and I opened up everything. This witch doctor then told me that a cleansing ceremony was supposed to be done just like that same cleansing ceremony that had been done on me by that prophetess when I was still young by the river. I was taken to the river again and I was introduced to the snake that stays in the river. This is like a spirit, but it is the spirit in form of a snake to protect me, to stop those dead people from revealing themselves to me. And they did a ceremony to close my spiritual eyes, and it did not work. I went back to the Sangoma. It was better. That was why I went back. The Sangoma then said to me he had been dealing with new people that were giving him money. And I said, okay, so what does it have to do with me? And he said, don't you want quick cash? And I said, yes, I want quick money. He then gave me a small pink soft cloth. You know, there are those soft cloth that a man and a woman can use in their bedroom. That is the one that the healer gave to me, and he said, with this one you can become rich. And I said, how so? How am I going to become rich? And then I was told that when I will be at work, this was the operation that I was supposed to do whilst checking vitals on patients. I will wipe the patient lightly on their forehead, on their hand, or on their leg. Only during night shift, only sick or weak patients. And once I would have done that, I was supposed to put it in another small plastic bag and leave it in my handbag, and then I would go with it to that traditional healer, and the healer will give me money. And I was supposed to wipe one patient each and every day, but I would not do it each and every day because I would go and leave that soft cloth, then I would go and take it maybe after 2 or 3 days. I started to see real material signs late 2017. Within 3 months, I was approved for an SUV car loan. No promotion. My salary was the same, yet my bank balance never dropped to zero. And what surprised me one day, I was pouring some fuel in my car and I swiped and I saw a notification on my ABSA app. Although I had swiped, but my money that was in my main account, it did not reflect any deduction. So I told myself that maybe it was an error or something. I then went and I bought some food. I remember that I went and I bought pizza and I went through a driveway and I bought some McDonald's and I went back home. I did not do it deliberately because I wanted to see if the money will be deducted. No, I just bought food so that me and my husband, we can eat. When I got back home, there was something that just made me to check the amount of money, because this is what I do when my money gets into my account for the salary. I immediately put it into my savings account. I would rather have a debit order bounce than I put the money because I'm scared. I don't trust the bank. So I always keep my money in my savings account. So if I want to use money, then I send it into the main account. So on that day, when I wanted to pour fuel to use money to buy the food, I knew how much I wanted to spend. When I got back home, that money was there. No cent had been touched. I said, what is wrong? I said, maybe I'm budgeting a little bit better. Maybe it's luck. Within 6 months, I was approved for a house, and by then we had been renting. And as for the mortgage, I could have never afford to live in such an expensive neighborhood. My salary does not get finished, no deduction, nothing. It's like magic that happens. So me and my husband, we do live a very comfortable life. I can just have an unexpected cash appearing without any deposit. You just see there is 200k in my account. Where is it coming from? Then the witch doctor, when I went to him, he laughed at me and he said, that is what we call magic money in Malawi. You can't trace it because it is magic money. It is spiritual. And I said, I'm scared. I'm going to get arrested. And he said, no, 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 don't worry. You'll never get arrested because in the bank, that money is not even there. It is very difficult for you to understand. That is what he told me. He said that money is just magic, everything that is happening. I was then given a clay pot each and every month. These are my instructions. I pour chicken blood into the pot, and this pot, I was told to keep it in a secret room. This was in 2018 when I did this. So I had a room that was designed, changed the logs and everything, and I put that pot in there, and I go in there and I slaughter a chicken and squeeze the blood on that plant. So this plant has been growing, my brother. Right now, this plant, it is already touching the ceiling, and I don't know when it is going to stop growing. So I started to notice that my husband, he started acting as if he is mentally ill, like a retarded person, always drooling saliva. I returned back to that same Sangoma and I said, why is my husband like this? Then the Sangoma was like, oh, okay, I forgot. I once gave you this other charm. Do you still remember it? And I said, you have given me a lot of charms. And he said, there was a charm that I gave you, and I told you to cook food for your husband, but not to cook meat that will be stew, but bride meat. And I said, oh yes, I remember. You told me not to put salt, but to season the meat that I would have bride with that same charms that you had given to me. And he said, oh yes, you now remember. I gave it to you so that your husband can be under your control. It's like a love charm. That is what my husband does. Like now, my husband, I don't want him to go to work anymore because he is just an embarrassment. It's like he is mentally ill. He is always drooling saliva. He does not question me at all. I want out. I do not want this anymore. It's like I have lost my husband. I have lost my sanity. I am always performing these rituals. The flower is growing. What if this flower ends up breaking the ceiling and even breaks the roof? What will people say? This flower is too big to be moved, and it seems as if it is alive. My husband, he has never been in that room. With the way that he's stupid, even if I leave the door unlocked, you will never get in there because I just said, I don't want to see your fingers holding this door. And he said, okay, it's fine, I'll never do it. But if you see my husband walking, you will think that he's just a normal man, a normal gentleman. But I am holding his brain in my hands and it is in my clay pot. So this is my confession. I went out. The Sangoma, he told me that the only way for you to return back these charms to me is if we destroy them. And I said, okay, let's destroy them. And he said, no, the only way that we can destroy them, you have to give me your child. Then I use your child to sacrifice, and then I use the blood of your child to cleanse my shrine. So I don't want that to happen. I have tried to go to church, but when I went to church, I saw that the pastor, when he saw that I am someone that has money, the pastor was after me, like he wanted me to sleep with me so that he can chow my money. So I stopped going to church altogether. I really don't have any social life, always at home or at work. Going to work, it is because there are things, some of them I'm scared to tell you because people, this is social media. I don't want people to end up looking for me. There are times when they suggest that I even bring bodily fluids of those that are really sick, like poop. I don't want to talk much about it, but I don't know how they use it in Ukutwala rituals. Yo, dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by one of our sister. Strange things indeed they do happen in this world. Let us talk about this in the comment section. Yo.